the Creation Evaluation Station, where I give in-depth reviews of models and construction kits, both new and old. Mostly Lego, but other products as well. I also do reviews and discussions of other creative works, such as movies, cartoons, and video games. Today, on this episode, we are doing an impromptu review of Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness. Now, I was really excited for this movie to come out for multiple reasons, and overall was not disappointed. Maybe just a little bit, which we'll get to later. But for the most part, it met my expectations. I enjoyed the first one. I think most people did. If you haven't seen it, go watch it before you even watch this rest of this. I mean, what are you doing here? Go watch that, then come back. There's going to be spoilers here. I'll give warnings before it happens, but right now it's spoiler free. So if you have seen the first one but haven't seen the second one, you're still safe. You can stay. But yeah, I enjoyed the first one. It was really great, like seeing this character and how they developed him. They have some really cool effects, and the overall story was interesting. The character arc in that one was really good, and I think a lot more people actually need to pay close attention to that, and if they could learn something from it themselves. But this one was just as good in that department, although I know a lot of people think, well, it's not really a spoiler. She's in the thing in a lot of the trailers is that Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, kind of overtook his story, but I wouldn't say so. It's quite evident that that he's, the main thing, and I can't say too much because that'd be getting spoilers, which we'll discuss those later. He had a good character arc in this too, and I'm happy to seen it, and we watched it in 3D, which I don't know when they started doing 3D movies again, but I was glad to see this in 3D. The special effects of the movie looked even cooler with the glasses on. So yeah, if you get a chance to see it in 3D, do that. I was happy to see the 3D back. Overall thoughts, it was a good movie. Now, even though I enjoyed this movie, and I think a good portion of people will enjoy it, it's not for everybody. This movie is a Marvel movie, but it's a lot more violent and a bit more graphic than your typical Marvel movie. No, it's not on par with either of the Deadpool movies, though, so you're safe from that. But do watch bringing your kids to this. It's rated PG-13, and there's a lot of it has a very horror aspect to it, which isn't a bad thing, which we'll get to that a little bit in a little bit. But there is like a body horror and a bit of, there's definitely, I don't know if there's actually there's a couple jump scares, but there's some pretty intense stuff, very macabre, and a bit of more violence too. Also, we'll get to that too, because that's interesting. Watch, make sure your kids would be able to handle it. That being said, the horror aspect of it worked really well. It's one thing about Doctor Strange, and even the first movie wasn't quite so horrorish, scarish, but it's it's always felt more, mystery and macabre and spooky and creepy and stuff like that. And they do that much more justice in this one than they did the first movie. And I'm not a big fan of that. The thing is, though, it was a Sam Raimi movie, and one of the things that's where he got his origins from, was horror. And I enjoy those movies that he's made, even though they're like, no, they're not Friday the 13th or Scream or any of these. He's got quite a different take on it, and the movie has his fingerprints all over it, and I enjoy it immensely for that. That's one reason why I was looking forward to that, although I didn't know what we were going to get. Like, I didn't know it would be quite so horror-esque in that aspect, because he's also known for the Spider-Man movies, all three of them, of the original with Tobey Maguire series of movies, and they were all really good, but they didn't really have much in the way of horror involved. Now, Sam Raimi was not the original director for this. He took the project off somebody's hands. I don't remember the situation behind it, but either way, you could still see his fingers all over this. And it's not always good to have somebody else come in and finish a movie for somebody, but it seemed pretty cohesive that way. If there is a bit of jumping around, well, there's a little bit, because you're following a couple of different characters at the same time. We follow Wanda, we follow Doctor Strange, and we follow Wong. I hope I pronounced his name right. But yeah, so you follow more than one character doing different things, so it jumps around a little bit that way, but it doesn't feel like you're watching two different movies because somebody else directed part of this and somebody else directed the other. So it had a cohesive story and pretty cohesive air about it. And yeah, I thought he did a great job, and I hope this movie does well, because I hope he gets to do more Marvel stuff. We were supposed to get a fourth movie, if you did not know, a fourth Spider-Man movie from him, and due to some of the backlash he got from the third movie, and just they started the fourth movie, but it just didn't get off the ground, and I think he was suffering from some of the backlash from that. But I hope this one does well, and we see more of his work here. Not necessarily Doctor Strange or in a more horrific thing, but really enjoy his stuff. And, of course, as all of his movies usually do, although Bruce Campbell, who was in his very first movie, makes a guest appearance in here. And this isn't a spoiler per se, but he's in. Make sure you stay for the end credits. There's a mid-credit scene, but don't leave after that. There's a little bit more at the end. It's not a teaser. It's just a really funny gag, and I died when I saw it, and it just make sure you stay till the end. Just do that. Surprised we didn't see his brother in it, or maybe his brother wasn't and I missed it. If you happen to see him, let me know. yeah, so I hope everybody goes and sees it and supports his newest work in the Marvel franchise. Although, whether that's the Spider-Man movies, well, yes, we should, because to be honest, if we had not had that Spider-Man trilogy, we would not have had the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It may not have officially been part of it until the, No Way Home or whatever. But if the success of those movies hadn't happened, they probably would not have tried to do such a extensive project as the MCU. So, yeah, I hope this does well, and I hope people go see it and go support his work. And this was a very entertaining movie, and you'll enjoy it, even if it's not perfect. But that being said, it's not perfect. Now, there's something that bothered me. Not while watching it, even immediately after it was fine. I was just thinking about it when I'm working on this today. And a lot of the promotional stuff, and even things that have happened in the other MCU movies, TV shows, and stuff like that, have felt like, and just the title of this movie, that's where probably the worst it's got, is the title. Is this, Multiverse of Madness. It felt like something really big was going to happen, like we're building up. And anything is a bit disappointing because that big build-up was not this movie. I think it's still to come, but the title was kind of misleading, and even some of the promotional stuff that they showed was kind of misleading. That's not to say the movie was bad. Like, I was expecting a really super big bad, come along, like Thanos, or the guy from the Loki, end of the Loki series. Well, Loki series part 1, because we're supposed to get a second part. And I'll talk more about that in the spoilers. If you haven't seen the Loki TV show, you should see about checking it out. Although it's not really required for this movie, but you'll see what I'm saying. There's more that is yet to come. But, yeah, so that was a little disappointing, and I think it's mainly the marketing fault, not the movie fault. The movie was good just fine the way it was. Problem is the problem. The thing is, the movie was its own self-contained story. It wasn't directly related, like we saw Doctor Strange and, this No Way Home. And, we thought maybe something that happened there was going to cause this multiverse of madness thing to happen. And that's not what's going on. And that's quite evident from the beginning, so that's not really a spoiler. But you may also be thinking about that going into the movie. So I guess it's a bit of a warning. That's not what's happening in this movie. And yeah, that title, it should be more of Doctor Strange 2 and the mishap in the multiverse. Or, adventure in the multiverse. I mean, yes, I like the alliteration with the multiverse of madness and whatnot, but it's kind of misleading. But, like I said, this is not a bad movie because of it. I think, whoever promoted this movie or whatever is more at fault than the movie itself. So yeah, it's a very good movie. Now, on that note, I'm going to move into spoilers because I have a little bit more to say about expectations from this. So, if you haven't seen it, please leave. I do recommend you go see it. Then you can come back, finish watching this, and we can have a discussion about it. Which, yes, please do. tell me what you think of the trailers while we're at it right now. What were your thoughts on the trailers leading up to this movie? You know, what do you think about it? Put like a little trailer tag or something at the beginning of the comments, so I know what I'm talking about. And everybody else, make sure you hide your spoilers. And you know what to do. You know how to do it. So, last chance. Turn back now or regret. Spoilers incoming. 1, 2, 3. Okay, spoilers. So, yeah. Expectations for the overall movie. Thought something really big was going to happen, and it didn't. It was basically... Now, not saying things weren't crazy, because they were crazy. But, you know, it basically ended up being just following a single storyline. Nothing crazy was happening with the other worlds, like the other multiverses weren't invading, or like, you know, the Spider-Man movie, No Way Home, was more crazy with that, where everything seemed to be coming in and changing and everything. So I don't know what to think about that title. Now, other expectations, was not expecting the horror aspect of this movie, but it was really great. It added a different dimension to it. It does keep, you know, some younger audience members away, perhaps, but it wasn't super bad, and you know, it was still pretty tame. You know, it's tame enough that I think you could introduce kids to this genre through this movie. Yeah, and it had some great scenes, even though they're pretty crazy. I have not watched it, but if anybody's seen, I've seen the promotional, you know, trailers or posters and things like that for the movie Carrie. That's all I could think of. That's all I could think of when Scarlet Witch takes over that world's Wanda and goes on a rampage, and she's all bloody and she's just tearing everybody apart, and that's what I was thinking. It's like, oh, we have Carrie has entered the building. And the way that they treat Wanda like a scary witch in a lot of the scenes and stuff. And I thought that was great. I mean, it kind of... I think that's the worst part, but that it's worst part, but I don't know. Well, I'll talk about a little bit more about that in another section, because I wanted to get more. That happened in the other world, and a lot of things happened in that other universe, and I think it was great. So all the Illuminati was very interesting, potentially eye-opening, and I like. When I first thought, oh, this is pandering, because you know you have Professor X there, even Patrick Stewart playing him again, revising the role. Only it's not the Professor X we know before, but he's in his yellow floating chair, like the classic 90s X-Men. You could reference the cartoon, but it was in the comics as well. He had his yellow floating, levitating wheelchair, if you call it a wheelchair. Hover chair. So it felt like they were giving us that version of Professor X, Xavier. And then on top of that, we had Captain Marvel there, with as Monica Rambeau. I say that right? I hope I did. Please forgive me if I said it wrong. As Captain Marvel, which a lot of people saw the movie and why couldn't she be it? And it felt like pandering at first, but then I'm like, maybe it's not pandering. Maybe this is all, even the other characters are teasers. Like, instead of having teasers at the end of the movie, they literally put the teasers in the middle of the movie. Like, this may be a multiverse, and yes, she comes in and wrecks them. It's like, and it's kind of funny. We no plot armor for these people whatsoever. They just get wrecked. It's like only the one guy survived, and that's only because he wasn't actually there. He was watching Doctor Strange. But them showing up, at first I thought it was pandering, and I'm wondering, I'm hoping that it's actually teasers for things to come. Like, we might get, I'm pretty sure they're planning on bringing the X-Men now that Disney owns Fox and can have those rights, and Marvel can do that stuff with that. I mean, not going to get Spider-Man back, but they will, at least they have the X-Men now and can do something with that. And also, I don't know, it was also we should have, okay, it's still pandering, I guess, to the fans about, a lot of people want, as okay and enjoyable as those X-Men movies were, we wanted the 90s X-Men. A lot of people, a lot of fans wanted the 90s X-Men. So was this a teaser to things to come? And same thing with the Captain Marvel. Some of the other characters we had was Captain Carter, which I don't know. That was more pandering. She's been teased before. She was in the What If series. People liked her, and I think they just liked Carter as a character, period. And then she becomes, in an alternate universe, she becomes, not Captain America. Captain Carter. And then, we got the Fantastic Four, Reed Richards. I don't know if that actor will be playing him too, but definitely teaser for something like that. I'm not sure about Black Bolt. I've heard of the character. I'm not that familiar with him. That was really interesting how he got defeated and killed, almost basically killed himself. But that was really exciting and interesting and fun and kind of devastating. I mean, who wants to see Professor X die and get his neck snapped? That was kind of suck. But that also, maybe that's a teaser for something else happening later on. I'm going to wait to talk about that at the very last. Alright, Doctor Strange character development in the story was really good. I know people think he's being, overshadowed by Wanda, but Wanda doesn't have any character development. She practically has regression, which I'll talk a little bit more about her next. But Doctor Strange is really great in here. I mean, we see him at the beginning. He's at his, friend's wedding, which we know he's got feelings for, even in the first movie. We know, even though he's never said anything. And that's important. He never said anything. He has a little discussion with her there at the party before other things happen and the story starts moving forward. Although this is important to him and this overall story. And that's great. I mean, how it comes down to, you could say, I can hear people saying, well, he's not the hero in his own movie, but they would be wrong. Though he has a character arc through here, and if it wasn't for his character arc, things would turn out a lot different in the end. So, this is spoilers, so I can talk more openly about it. He meets an alternate version of his, I'm going to call her his girlfriend. And also he meets America Chavez, who knew another world version of him. And he never got hooked up with his girlfriend either. And pretty much for the same reason. And then he finds out when he talks to this other alternate version of her, the other version. They do go about that in the movie sometimes. Or in the other world. That she, pretty much for the same things, they didn't connect. And two things happen that are important. One, he tells her his feelings. Now, there's no way they could be together. She needs to be in her world. It's not that, and there's no way he's going back to his world and being with that version of her. She's married, that would get very messy, and that's just not going to happen. So he realizes he can't be with her, but also learns, self-realizes a weakness he has, which is, trying to do everything himself. And that plays a very important role in the story ending how it does. And because if he didn't, he would try to control the situation, which we actually saw at the very beginning of the movie that an alternate version of Doctor Strange tried doing was unsuccessful. Instead of trying to take control of her power and holding the knife, as his girlfriend said, because he's always got to be in control. And we see why he's this way. That's another good thing. We don't just say, oh, he's just a control freak or whatever. There's a story there which I believe was actually told before in the first movie, and it's probably how and why he became a doctor. Funny thing is, I remember the story, but I don't remember it happening, if that makes any sense, in the first movie. I just can't picture when it happened. But he talks about his sister. He had a sister who died falling through the ice, and there was no way he could save her. That right there is telling you that he has to be in control, because it's up to him to do the saving. He can't trust other people to do it or whatever. it's a bit of trust issue, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. But so we don't just get the fact that, oh, he's controlling or whatever. We get a why, we get a how, and the motivation behind it, which is good as well. Even though it's done in a simple story and it's actually done not directly. He was trying to prove that he was a Doctor Strange to another Doctor Strange, another Doctor Strange. So he instead lets go of the knife. He gives the knife to, this is metaphorically knife. Instead of trying to take America Chavez's power, which seems like the only way, he instead encourages her and shows her and helps her use her power. And then she uses that power to stop the Scarlet Witch from doing what she wants to do, which is actually take her power too, and makes her realize what she did wrong. Now, so this is really good story arc right here, character arc and story arc. What happens to Wanda is kind of depressing, and I think they needed to do a little bit more with it. It's like, because, you know, at the end of the WandaVision TV show, it felt like, okay, yeah, she's trying to figure out how to get to her kids, or get her kids back, because they seem to be in trouble or whatever. But we get just a little teaser at the end, so they don't really tell us. But she's trying to get her kids back. That's fine and dandy, but she goes way beyond reason in this movie. But it is mentioned several times that the book that she is using can change you and influence you. And that's fine, except they don't show it that well. So it doesn't have that much of an impact. And so a lot of people I've seen other reviews, and I've heard complaints about different people, and even myself. I'm like, immediately after the movie, I'm like, why is she so flipped? I mean, I understand her motivation, but why is she going this far? Why, when she goes into the other world and all the characters that don't have plot armor because they're not particularly part of our universe that the main MCU is taking place, she just rips them apart. I mean, she just devastates them. Like, I think she had a few more morals than that. I mean, we see at the end of WandaVision, she realizes that, like, she was doing it subconsciously, but she realizes what she was doing was wrong. She was hurting these people, even though she was trying to give them everything. But she seemed like she's got some moral grounds or whatever. Totally gone in this. But thinking about it, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be that the book has been influencing her and blinding her and making her become so obsessive about finding the kids. That being said, that is probably the weakest part of the movie right there. They could have just done something a little different to make her show that she's being influenced by. And it'd be really simple. You could have a voice whispering into her, driving her forward, moving her on, get your kids back. Now, she also has dreams about her kids, which we see that. Yeah, that's still not proper motivation. That's just, get me in the fields, because it did. But But yeah, showing the book somehow influencing her, whether it's, sneaky, smoky hens coming from the book and coming behind her and going into her mind, or them actually hearing whispers in her ear. Very Lovecraftian and stuff, and would have fit right in with the rest of the movie, and also would have helped the audience understand what's going on better and be more understanding and more sympathetic to what was happening in the movie, because it felt out of left field, basically. Little bit unbelievable without that explanation. Without the explanation, it's really, really unbelievable. So yeah, that's probably the biggest problem with the movie and the story, and it could have been done just slightly differently and would have worked fine. So that's that. Now, I talked earlier about expectations from from ads and from trailers and even the name of the movie, feeling like things are coming to a head from all the previous stuff, the weirdness, the No Way Home and some of the other stuff going on. But it doesn't happen in this movie. This is mainly, dealing with this issue with America Chavez and Wanda, which, yeah, is a big deal, because when Wanda goes crazy, she obviously is very, 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 very dangerous. But it is not like, it didn't feel as crazy as it was supposed to be. But there are some things that are loose ends. Like what happens in the Loki TV show. That deals with the multiverse, the multiverse, and something has obviously changed. Now, I think that's partially what's allowing these other things to happen. Even the Spider-Man movies, and we're supposed to get a second season of that, so there's more to come with that. But I think we're also going to be leading up to more movies dealing with this as well. Don't know what they are yet. The next Marvel movie to come out is Thor. From the trailers, don't look like it has anything to do with it except for one thing. And I've heard people complaining about it, but the female Thor, which is actually his girlfriend from the first movie, 2 movies, somehow has gotten his powers, whatever. I have a feeling that's an alternate universe Thor. So the multiverse is not over with yet. We are definitely not done with it, and we probably will be leading up to some big event. Now, a lot of people are talking about the what's it called? The Secret Wars, and who knows, maybe. Now that's that loose end. Now there's something else I wanted to talk about, and that's Wanda. At the end, she destroys the book and all iterations of the book all the way across the multiverse. How that's done, we don't know, except this is an interesting theory I have, and yes, I'm going to interject my theories. This is tinfoil hat time. These are things going forward. The temple was the source. I mean, Wong was even saying that the book the book was a copy of the information that was on the walls of that tomb, whatever you want to call it. He called it a tomb at first, but then it's like, no, it's a throne. Well, whatever it is, this castle building thing, where it's red, temple. I just call it a temple. could this temple actually have been the source of everything? Now, it was implied it was on Earth, MCU Earth. That could imply that that means that it's the everything is wrapped. The other, like, it's the prime universe, so to speak, the main universe. I mean, yes, it's the main universe for the MCU, but I don't know. Could that imply that? I mean, or did she use the book to destroy the other books before she destroyed that book? I mean, I don't know. It's kind of strange. Welcome to Doctor Strange. But, you know, without specifics, it's hard to say. And on top of the mystery of how she destroyed all the books in the other universes, multiverse, what's happened to her? Is she dead? The building collapsed on her. One would assume she's dead, but, you know, normal human beings would be dead. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. We didn't see a body, you know. I always say, if you don't see a body, they may not be dead. And there's Zombie Strange, but that's a different story. I'm thinking, tinfoil, that maybe, just maybe, that, as I was talking earlier, that the middle of the movie was a teaser, including the scene where Xavier is in that world's Wanda's mind, trying to rescue her, bring her out to get rid of Scarlet Witch's influence, and then gets killed, of course. That's part of that too, and I think that's part of a teaser. What if later on, when the X-Men join the MCU, I know, big assumption, but I don't think it's that big of an assumption anymore. It's just a matter of when and how. But imagine that they're somehow, maybe Wanda comes back to life, or never was really dead, but is in a weakened state, and Xavier helps her with obviously her emotional scarring and stuff. Just thinking that's how she could come back into the MCU that way too. Now, she's not directly an X-Men, but we know she is a mutant, and we've established mutants in the MCU now. So, there's a possibility there. Okay, that's pretty much it for my review. You should, well, if you're still here and you haven't seen it, what are you doing? You should go watch it. There's some interesting, fun, crazy stuff. And the movie has just got a certain charm about it. And I don't know if that's Sam Raimi's influence or just the, you know, a lot of the Marvel movies have that too. Some do. Some more so than others. But yeah, go see it if you can. Now, my normal show here, you know, and let's discuss things down below in the comments. That's one reason why I like doing this, is I want to talk to other people about them. So, what did you guys think of this movie? What do you think of my crazy tinfoil hat theories? Yeah, what'd you think of this video? If you liked it, please like it. And you know, if you have yet to subscribe, please subscribe and share and do all that YouTube stuff. I also, if you subscribe, there's I have links below for Twitter and Facebook. There's one for Patreon. I don't have anything there yet. Working on it. As of recording this video, there's nothing there. So, you can follow me there to get updates when videos come out, as well as YouTube. Sometimes YouTube's not as reliable as I'm finding out. I'll It's kind of odd. I'll see, like, I put out a new video and nobody will watch it until several days later, which means the notifications are going out when they're supposed to be. So, yep. That's about it for me here. I'm looking forward to the next Thor movie. I like Thor. I think I like him more now that he's a little bit looser. Like the first two movies, he's very stiff. Although it's been a while, I should go back and watch them again, just because. But anyways, that's for another day. I don't know if that'll be the next movie I'll be watching or not, but I'm signing off here. The Creation Evaluation Station, reminding you that creativity is key. Have a great day.